I know people are tired, and you know the whole premise of the training on Tuesday is to be very you know, take it very easy. Let me see what I can do here. Oh man, this is not good. All right, good evening, guys. If you can hear me, please go ahead and mute your phones, and let's talk about a few interesting things. So, last Saturday, we talked about the star schema and the extended star schema. We built a cube, we loaded data, transaction data, and master data. And what you see on the screen is it's exactly what we did, which is we have a fact table surrounded by dimensions, and we went ahead to build a cube and everything. We also talked about a couple of things here about the, facts about the info cube. Okay, we talked about the fact that it's made up of a fact table surrounded by dimensions, and you can have up to 16 dimensions. 3 of them are fixed. The 13 remaining are customer, and out of the 13, at least you need 1 dimension in order for you to be able to successfully build a cube. And we also mentioned that the dimensions contain characteristics, and 1 dimension can contain up to 248 characteristics in 1 dimension. And the fact table takes up to 233 key figures. That is the maximum 1 cube can have. We talked about the surrogate IDs, the fact that they link the master data to the dimensions of the cube, right? So if you have a product or customer master outside of the cube, the linkage and the direct linkage is here. You see, I open a cube. This over here is the cube that we built, ZETM_IC1. But you see, we loaded product and its attributes, but we can see it under the cube over here. The reason why we're able to do this link, even though it's a cube, and these ones over here are not available inside of the cube, it is made available by virtue of the fact that we have surrogate IDs and then the DIM IDs that allows us to be able to see these at the cube level. Okay, so that is primarily what the surrogate IDs and the dimension IDs are. Okay, so these are a few facts about our cube. Okay, now having said that, when we took a look at the previous queries that we've been building, when you look here, you actually do see that product, the dimension product has product ID, product category and then a product group. Okay, in a way where you can drag and drop them and then be able to even go deep down at them if you want to. Here, they are just basically just display attributes, okay? And that is the reason why they are showing in this color, all right? In other words, you can only display them. You cannot do a lot of manipulation. Just like you can come over here like this, and then right-click and then do a restriction on them or anything like that. You can't do that. You can only do it at this level. If you have product and you put it over here, you can do a restriction, right? If you have product category, there are a number of things that you will be able to do if in fact you do have it as a characteristic in itself. It is not a characteristic. So you can even see that dragging it over there is an issue, okay? The only way that you can drag it is to be able to have this somewhere for it to be what? Dependent on it. So without the parent, which is product, you're not even able to have this product category in there. All right, you take this out and everything goes away. You bring this here and it has to come with the product. So there is that dependency, but it wasn't that way when we designed the cube in a way where the product category and then the product group was actually loaded, was a part of the actual dimension. So this is a challenge in a situation where we want to only see product category and product group against our key figures. We are not going to be able to do that because when you bring it in, this one comes up. Okay, that is the reason why it is display. It's dependent on this because this is the only one that is available in the cube. If you guys understand my point. So at this point, you are not able to do that much manipulation with product category and product group, okay? Because they are master data objects. The point I'm trying to make is I am going to show you how you can do manipulation on these ones that will become just like this, even though it doesn't reside in the cube. Okay, and so one of the topics that I would like to treat, the first topic I'd like to treat today is a very, very simple one. It's just going to be an addition to the cube that we built. We are going to call this navigational attributes. Okay, so navigational attributes are actually attributes or master data objects that act in a cube as though they are actually what? A part of what? The dimension in the cube. Okay, right now they are just display attributes. So how do we do that? How do we do that? If you want to be able to make those that way, then you have to go through a two-step process in order for you to be able to see that. Let me pause a minute to answer a few of the questions that is coming in. Someone is asking if the class is being recorded. Yes, it is. So when you display data on cube you created last time, why is it not showing the first 4 columns? Instead, it starts showing from payer column. From payer column. I'm not sure I understand you. You are unmuted. Can you speak out? You're talking about the Excel.
So I'm talking about the, yes, yeah, the demo cell transaction file.
Okay.
We use it for the info cube.
Uh-huh.
When we display data, so the first column we created as an info object company,
Okay.
and the second column was country, third was plant, excuse me, and the fourth one sales group. But when we display data, when we go in the info cube and we say display data, it starts showing from the pair, the fifth column. If you open the file, I think you can see it, what I'm saying.
All right. Okay. So first of all, let me open here first, and here might be able to address your concern. So basically what you're saying is we have company code and all of that, but when you say display data over here, when you do manage or display data, you go to contents here and then you say contents. So here it's saying pair before the company code. Is that basically what you're saying?
No, if you execute now, go just.
So I'm going to not
Yeah, if you
just
select
execute.
all. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If you click
So
again. Yeah.
so you're saying that why is it showing pair first?
No, just go no. Just click on that to display data.
Okay.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
You see the first column?
Yes. So you're asking why is it showing this column? You
Yeah.
see, this is a multidimensional model. The way that it is displaying this data over here is, take a look at this. This is your dimension. Your customer dimension has these.
Okay.
So it is you have customer and you have organization and you have product, right?
Okay.
So if you double click in here and you look at, you have customer, you have organization, you have product. This is exactly how it is going to show. So if for whatever the reason is you want it to display as you have it in your spreadsheet, it doesn't matter the order, right? Because at the end of the day, this is just loading the data. The order, you can reorder it here because this is where you'll be building your query. You understand where I'm coming from?
Okay.
So if you want to organize it that way, you can do it here. But if you want to do it in the back end as well, because you want to see it as is from the spreadsheet, however it's coming, and it starts with company code, then you might want to rearrange your dimensions in a way where what you're going to have organization come up over here and then customer go down there. You get my point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's irrelevant really as far as the data is concerned and the accuracy of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
All right.
Thanks.
Yes. So any other questions as far as that is concerned? Any other questions? Okay, very well. So like I had indicated, I want to talk about the navigational attributes, and it's a two-step process. Okay, so step one is basically turn navigational on at object level. Okay, turn it on at the info object level or the characteristic level, which means that product as the characteristic that has attributes, those attributes will have to be checked as what? Navigational. Okay, and then your step two process will be your step two is going to be basically turning it on at what? Turning it on at the info provider level. Okay, info provider or cube level. Let's say info cube level. Okay, that is the second. So it's actually pretty straightforward. We know why we're talking about these navigational attributes, so that they can act as what info objects at the cube or in the query, right? So how do we do these? Pretty much is what I'm going to do as the first exercise. Okay, so we said that turn it on at the info object level, which means that this is product, right? ZETM prod, this is, which one do we have in the cube? ZETM prod. So here, this one over here, we're saying that it has attributes. Okay, so let's make it change or put it into edit mode so that we can make some type of edits. You see here, what's happening over here? This one here says this you are seeing is what is display. Okay, so we want product category and product group to be what? Navigational. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn this knob on as navigational attributes so that it becomes navigational, and then it becomes navigational. Okay, and we're going to do a check. If you want to do that, you can do that, but it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to go ahead and it's asking to put descriptions up over here for it so that it shows in a certain way in the cube. I don't need to do that. So I have activated them. Now they are both navigational. Okay, let's go ahead and then do a refresh, and then let's go to the cube level here and see what we can do at this cube level. Here we have all these. So basically, whenever there is an attribute that becomes navigational, you actually basically see them up over here. Okay. Okay, so that is the first step. What I would like to do is to go back in there again and then check and be sure that it is actually set as navigational. Otherwise, we'll have to come back and then take a look at it again. All right, so I'm going to do a create so that I can look for my cube, which is this here. I don't want to save this here, and let's go into the product dimension and see what happens. We still have this and that in over here, not quite what we want. Okay, so we need to come in over here and again, switch this. So give me 1 second. So this thing is not moving. All right, so how do we switch this over here as a navigational attribute? How do we do that? You check it. So let me go over that again. So basically, you switch this on to edit, and then you take a look at it over here, and then you make changes to it. Now, this has been made so different. It used to be very different in terms of the looks, but here we are. We can do a check, Okay, says everything is consistent. Okay, you can go ahead and activate that. Okay, so now that we have these checked, it's supposed to be switched on at this level as well. So let's see if you know, there is a difference between how that was and then how these 1 second. It's not looking in the way that it ought to. It needs to be refreshed one way. It's 1 second. Let me close this. Go back in there again to be sure. Let's take a look at this. So you can see what's happening here, right? Let me go over this again with you guys to be sure that, you know, get that well. So let's take a look at that again. After these checks, you can reopen it. And this time around, when we open the cube, by switching it to a navigational attribute status, what we've done is we have shifted the attributes from here, right, all the way towards this side, towards the fact table. That is the reason why it is going to be switched as green. It's almost as though the sit and the dim, you know, has pushed all the way into the fact table. Okay, too many of that can be performance issue. But let's go ahead and then take a look at it and see exactly the difference between that and then the previous one that we saw. Okay, so when you look over here, you see it's basically aligned itself to product as though it is under the dimension. Okay, so again, when you do this, you switch it as a navigational attribute at the info provider level. It pushes it to the dimension, which makes it look as though it is a part of the cube, even though it's not there. So you see what it's saying, ZETM prod underscore ZETM what? PC. This is a cube, and then big underscore, and this is what? The attribute. So it says that this is the cube. No, this is product, all right. This is the attributes of this product, so that you actually know based on the what? The naming convention that this is long, it's got to be coming from somewhere. It means that PC, which is your product category, is what? It's an attribute of ZETM prod, which is what we have here. If I switch on this technical name, you see this is ZETM prod. Okay, so that is basically how we deal with navigational attributes. Sometimes you need to be able to make certain things available, you know, for that purpose. So then again, we can take a look at how they can be independent, and putting these over here this way, it's totally independent. You can right click on it, okay, or you can even move this other one over here, and you can right click and do restrict, just as though it is an info object on its own. Remember that it is an attribute. It's an info object, all right, but it's defined as an attribute. And the only reason why you can do these restrictions is you've made it look as though it is an object directly in the cube. That is what a navigational attribute will do for you. Very, very important. Any questions? So when they ask you what is a display attribute and what is a navigational attribute, you should be able to differentiate the two. Okay? Okay, very well. So that is house cleaning number one. That's what I wanted to do as far as cubes are concerned, as far as navigational attributes and display attributes are concerned. The next item that I would want to talk about is whenever we load data, we always have to deal with no, navigational attributes are not considered in that dimension because they don't physically reside in there. Okay, you will not see them in that dimension, but they act as though they are over there. And you are not going to put 248 characteristics in one dimension anywhere in your life. So that's nothing for you to worry about. You know, so again, the question was, would you consider the navigational attributes as a part of the 248 characteristics that you have in a dimension? And the answer is no. All right. So, you know, like I told you the last time, we pretty much have, you know, we built the diagram, you know, like this, and we said this is a source system. So the info package allows us to push data up to the data source, to the PSA of the data source, right? And the DTP allows us to push data from the PSA to whatever the target is. And obviously you have transformations. Transformations are important. Transformations are like a bridge. Can you imagine having a bridge that doesn't have two ends? Right? Can you imagine having a bridge? You are supposed to be walking on this straight line. It can't be hanging in the air, right? You have to have a support somewhere here, right? And another support somewhere over there, so that when you are walking on over here, you are right here, right? You can be over here, and then you can move like that without having to fall down. You get my point, right? So it's really the same thing as these transformations that you see. You know, you need to build this here and that over there so that the transformation becomes a bridge. You can't build transformation without having to have two, you know, the info providers and the data sources. You can't build it if you don't have that available. So I wanted to pick up the info package and the DTP, and then also pick up, you know, these are the topics I would want to treat today. So we'll talk detail about DTP, info package, okay, and then just you know, data management. Jonathan, I see you've joined. I hope your internet is good. I couldn't catch you on time to talk with you. But I hope you're doing okay in Ghana. I'm sure you got there safely and you're here with us. So, welcome. All right. So let me talk about data management, first. Okay, let's talk about data management. Generally, when you load data, you want to ensure the integrity of the data. So it's not as well, yeah, I've loaded data. You don't know what's happened. Did it load right? Did it not load right? What's happening to it? You know, you have to be a master of your game. You have to understand every little thing. So if you're taught how to build a cube, how to load data into it, you definitely need to know how to view data, how to manipulate data, how to check the data, and then how to even monitor it. And so if you have to delete it and reload and all of that stuff, it makes it easier for you. Okay? We do this a lot, especially on day-to-day basis on the job. So for example, a user says that, hey, my query, my report is not showing the numbers right. I don't know, it is showing duplicate records. What's happening? You can come and check. If it's duplicate records, stuff just went off. A second. If it's duplicate records, could it be that you might have loaded data twice? You pushed it from the PSA and you pushed it again, and so a cube is only addition, right? If you go and then you look at this DTP, see, it already happened to somebody before. You look at this DTP. Once you create a DTP, you don't create it again every time you're loading data. All you can do is you can just hit execute. All right? You can hit execute. And when you hit execute and you've asked it to load full, that means that it will go into the PSA and then see if there is data, right? And if there is data over there, then it is going to push it in there, you see, as a copy. Here it's showing 0. And the reason why it's showing 0, I will explain that to you. There is a way where you can set this where it loads data that is already in existence, and if it's already been loaded, once it gets loaded, it gets flagged. Okay, it gets flagged over here inside of the PSA. It gets flagged that, hey, you've already loaded this. So next time when you load it again, it only goes to look for new data, or the delta. Delta is change, is the new records that is coming. If there is something new that has come in the PSA or in this source, then it will pick that up. But you can also decide to create another type of a DTP for this very same process, right? You can decide to create this DTP where the update is not, where the extraction is not delta. Here, the previous one, which I'll show you, the previous one, this one here, is actually pointed, is showing delta. And delta simply means that load everything that is there and then continue loading any new records that come. So if you change the mode to delta, which I'm going to talk about anyway, I wanted to talk about data management, but this is here already, so let me just talk about it, but I will come back again when I come to DTP. So if I do full, right, and I activate this, and I hit execute, if I load the data, even though it's been loaded already, you're saying that full load, give me anything that is there. I don't care whether I've loaded it before or not. Give it to me because you selected what full. All right? So this number of records will actually show up. So it happened to Ikuya before, and the reason it happened was because her DTP that she had was not delta, but it was full. So when she tried loading again, it gave her everything again. And so you see, this here is, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at my DTP. Let's double click on the first one. Let's look at the property under the extraction. You see here, what is it showing? Delta, right? So with delta, if I execute this again, I'm not going to get anything because everything in there has been loaded before. It's already in the cube. As soon as I delete the data in the cube, it will send signal to the target, to the source, and tell the source that, hey, well, I deleted the data, so free up, that information that says that you've already loaded it. So that when you load it again, then it will load. Now, the second one here is my full, and that is not delta. So you can see that it's showing full over here, which means that when I try to load, it will load. All right, so let's take a look at our cube again. This time around, it will not be 0, 0. It will be another 7, 0, 7, 0. So you see, if you add this, when you look in the result set, it's going to be double. So you're going to have a user saying that, hey, my data is not right. You need to be able to come in, right-click, go to Manage, okay? You might not see that there is duplicate over here as easy as I can see. But if you can see, then you do what? You highlight the two, and then you do what? You delete. Because it's showing duplicate records. See, one is full, the other ones are delta. So the full was the one that I actually just loaded. And it tells you the date and the time. You see these two delete times, you have to refresh until they go away. This over here tells you that you have loaded data and it's available for reporting. If this is not there, if this doesn't show up, then when you try to create a report and to run that report, data will not show up in the report because it's not available. Okay? We talked about data package, unit, and time. In our performance class, I will talk about what actually basically happens. But just so you know, this is the request ID. Data package 9084 has to be stored somewhere. Okay? 9084 has to be stored somewhere. You know where that is stored? In one of those fixed dimensions data package. This is where it stays. Okay? So the system automatically generates an ID to keep track of every data that you load. It separates them by the data that you load, right? This is the data you loaded today. Tomorrow you load another one. The next day you load another one. It's like you have a house with 3 barrels or multiple barrels. If you only have 1 barrel and you put in the first set of water, and then you go and fetch another water that is dirty or that has poison in it, and you put it in it, you're going to mix it up. You can't separate it. But if you have 2 barrels, then you know that the second one is poisonous. You can what? Pour it out, or you can delete it. So the cube by default is partitioned by what? Request IDs. That allows you to be able to selectively delete data by requests. Okay? That is the reason why this request ID is there, which is why we have data package dimension. Nobody asked that question. But the data package dimension does nothing but to keep your request IDs in there. Okay? So here, whenever you come in over here, you want to view this data, ignore what you see here and go all the way straight up to this up here, and then go to what? Contents. Okay? Go to contents. You see, product is showing here and it's showing there. And the reason is what? The reason is simple, because what they are navigational. So now it's showing as though it is in the cube. Isn't that interesting? You see your surrogate IDs, the system generated IDs. This time around, we are going to select everything, select all characteristics and all states. All right? everything. Let's look at what this SIT we keep talking about. What is it? It's a system generated number that uniquely identifies records. Okay. So you see, pair 01050, it will have a unique SIT, which is what, 2. 01500 will have this 3. 01050, 01050, 01500. So you see, this is different from that. So it says that any pair, so instead of using this, it actually basically uses this because it's easier for it. So anywhere that I see 03176, the system gives it 7. So whenever it's looking for 03176 or whatever the number is, the system has given it 7. So 7 is what is recognized here and there, so that it's easier for the system to be able to compute, for you to be able to get a faster retrieval during the OLAP processing in the front end, or as far as the query is concerned. You can see that I'm changing my language gradually because you guys are maturing, and so I need to start using the right lingo, which is the reason why we have a glossary. So as time goes on, we're picking this up gradually, so you can get used to it, because you have to talk like this in your interviews. Now you see all these various SITs. That's basically what they are. All right. For the most part, we don't need to have them. And so when we come over here, we select these. You oftentimes you select everything and select just that and these ones here. Okay. So let's say, for example, you want to put in particular company code you want to view. This takes you to like a user entry variable, right? You can put 111 here, so that's the only thing you can see here. If you want to see more records, you can change this 200 to more, so you can see more data. All right. But right now the system just restricts it to 200 because you are just viewing. This is not query. This is for you to check out the data to see whether the data is accurate or not accurate, and see what you have loaded. It's just, playing with the data, making sure, well, you know what, I loaded data. Let me make sure that everything came in exactly the way it's supposed to come in. That's all it's doing here. Okay, so you can see that I selected company code 111, and that's the only thing that it gives me. You see your request ID. It's going to be housed over there, like exactly what I said. Okay. Let me pause over here and answer a few questions that you guys might have posted, and then we can continue with data management. So Paul did ask a question that how many assigned DTPs can you create to load data into an info provider? And the question is, Paul, you can create as many DTPs as you can. Do you need that many in loading data? No. So let's say that you want to create one that is Delta. When you create one that is Delta, it loads everything that is in there, and then each time that you execute it, if there is a new one that is there, it only picks up that new one. So every day it just goes and picks up the new one and brings it to you. Okay? So, but then if you want to, let's say, load data specifically, let's say I want to push data into this, I want to only load company code 1111. Then you can create a full DTP for repair or for whatever you want to do. And I'm going to demonstrate how to do that as well, because you may have 1 million records in your source, in your data source, in your PSA, but you can decide to only load one that has only company code 1111. See, the data that is coming may be several millions, and it may be as is. You haven't done anything to the file or to the source of data, but you have the control to load whatever data that you see fit to load. to your target. Okay, so let's go back for a minute. The other question is from Eunice. It says, once data change in the source system, do we need to start the schedule for info package, or does it automatically come in as we are executing the DTP? That's a good question. That is a good question. That is another conversation that we will have. So what Eunice is asking is, if new data comes into the source, right? Do we have to go and execute? So every day you have to go and execute. If you have 100 cubes, do you have to go execute all 100 info packages and execute all 100 DTPs for the data to flow, or you can just do DTP and the data comes in? You should know this question, right? Number one, DTP will only pick up data from the PSA. So if the data is not in the PSA, then it's not going to, record anything. So there has to be a process that loads data from the info package, from the source using the info package. Then once it gets into in that place, then what is going to happen? Then the DTP follows. Now we have a utility that we're going to learn how to use. That is very simple. You can say, hey, I want you to load this data every day for me, okay? The first thing I want you to load is info package. So this is what you're going to do. You're actually basically going to draw this in blocks like this, all right? This, let's change this color to green. This here, this is the question I'm answering, but this is not what we are doing right now. So you can create something like a start, and then you can put this start, you can put an arrow over here, right? And then say load info package. This stuff is actually very, very interesting. Load info package. All right. So we will learn this. I'll give it to you as assignment so you guys can go figure it out before we do it. All right. So once you've done this, and then you can also say, after this is successful and there is data in here, continue, and then also open this at a faucet for the DTP. Okay. And then you can say load DTP. That's it. So assuming that you have a utility that does all these things for you, and here you give it a command and say load every day, load data at 3 o'clock a.m. daily. So every day, daily, this is what happens. So you don't have to manually go and then do any of this stuff. But before you can have this, you need to, of course, have built your DTPs very well in a way where it's actually functioning and working properly. Okay, so this answers your question, but we will talk about this. This is not what we're supposed to be talking about, and again, this is a utility for scheduling your jobs. Okay, and this is what we call the process chain. Okay, so that is a topic we'll talk about. It's fine with me if you go type in how to process chain in Google, and it will show you how to do that. Then you'll be able to do some of this stuff. But then again, let's get back to what we are treating, which is data management. Okay, so you can view this. You can, and another way, instead of clicking on contents here, you can right click here and say what, display data. Is there a display data here? Right here, display data. If you say delete data, it will delete every data you have in here. If you want to delete only one request and you have 100 requests in here, come inside, click, right click and go to manage, come here and then highlight and delete. But if you come over here and you say delete data, it will delete everything you have in there. Let me say that one more time, because you're going to be fired. And you may not just be fired, but they might sue you. If you come and you right click and you say delete data when you're supposed to be deleting only one request, So the company has been there for, they've been loading data into BI for 7 years, right? And so you have a lot of, requests, and then you are supposed to come and load just one request manually by executing a DTP. You execute a DTP, you schedule an info package, right? You execute a DTP, and you schedule an info package. Let me put it up over here somewhere. These are some of the languages that we have to learn how to use. Sorry. You execute DTP. You execute a DTP and you do what? You schedule info packages. Okay? All right? Okay, very well. You can have an error and you can still load data. The question was asked, if you have an error here and then you load the data, data the next day, what happens to that data? It may go in, but you have to fix this error very quickly. All right, so all the data is coming in, yesterday's sales, today's sales, and so if you're reporting and you have an error, the values is not going to be right, because once it's erroneous, it's not going to show readily available for reporting. Okay, if you have this that is showing erroneous over here, you see what happened? It's gone. You see that? I deliberately switched it to what? Error. If it is okay and everything is good, you're going to see this, reportable. But if it's erroneous, it comes in as error, you're not going to be able to report it. But when you load another set of data coming in right now, if I schedule another, if I schedule the DTP full, is it going to go in? It says that data has to be updated in the target because you have an error over there. You can do a repair, but generally it is a yes. I'm not going to delete before I do a load. Let me push it here. Let me do this. This would not give me that. All right. So the only reason why this gives me is because it's the same DTP. So if we go back in here, and you're going to see that this is green and this is red. So yes, you can have that situation, but you see it's not available for reporting as well. Why? Because this over here, there is an error that needs to be fixed. Once that is fixed and you check it, you're going to have everything coming in over here for you as readily available for reporting. Okay? So let me go ahead and then delete one. Just once again. All right, so this is how we do data management, okay? This is how we do data management. Come in, right click, display. I can also come over here and just say display data. Display data will bring me straight over here. And then I can do my selection, all characteristics, and then key figures. Or I can select whatever I want. If I don't want to see request IDs, all these, just uncheck them. Maybe you don't want to see country, maybe you don't want to see region and all these. Maybe you don't want to see this and that. You can select and then you can make changes here. Now over here, you can select what you want here, or you can come here and you can put in specific numbers, or you can put in a range, or you can even say that I want to exclude certain properties. For example, if I want to exclude this, it's going to show it as red. You want to exclude it. Load everything except for 1050, right? If you want to just view. And these are temporary. It will have no bearing on the query that you build over here. This just allows you to take out stuff and just be able to view data the way you want it. All right? If this quantity or this amount here, you want to view it and it's all in US dollars or in one currency, then you can just do your sum over here. And it gives you this 131, and this is the number that you get here. You can do all these. But remember that it's only 200. So you may think that, man, this is 131 million. It's supposed to be 408 million. Why is it only showing 131? Don't forget that there is more data that you have not selected because your result set is only 200. So you can add a few more. It's like 9 million records when you know you only have 7,000 there. It will account for everything for the most part, right? And you can come up over here and then do what? And you're going to see what? 4 billion this time around, not 100 and something million. Okay? So this all allows you to be able to then click here and then just go to exclude. See, it shows one value. You don't want it anymore, just delete it and execute, and it's gone. Okay? Come over here, play with this stuff. It's fun. That is why you're supposed to be studying and playing with this. Any questions? So ignore everything else we've done. Here we just talked about data management. That's all that we've done so far. Okay? Right click on it, right click, and then do manage. And you have this, so do display. The same thing you can do for your source also. You can do what? Manage, and you can go in here. This is what I'm talking about here. See here? Request updated in data targets. If I delete it, this is not going to show up anymore. It means that it's not going anywhere. As soon as I delete it, it will come and delete this here as well. Very brilliant. Okay, so here you can always select, and when you do this, you're deleting it. So be careful. Make sure you know what you're doing. Select PSA, and you can look at the data package. These ones the data packages are just arrayed. They are like having pages in your book. So you decided to put the first 100 data on page 1, page 2, page 3, but the whole book will contain everything. So it's just groups it by pages, basically. And you can see that this is the data that you have. All right, so you can do management on the source and the data as well. I'm going to do something very, very quickly because I want to show you possibilities, okay? Remember that I said that when you have a data source and you have to push data into the data source, you need DTP. You are always going to need DTP as far as data source is concerned. But you see, I can always load data from a cube to another cube, from another info provider to another info provider, and it is going to be an info provider to info provider. So whenever you need that situation or you come across that, you don't need an info package. All you need is a DTP. So watch what I'm going to do. I can make this here, even though it's a target, I can make it a source. All right? So I'm going to build a cube. Now, instead of building a cube from scratch, I want it quick. So I can right-click and copy this cube. Once I copy it, I can give it another name. Okay? So that it looks exactly like that. IC2. Let me just say IC2, and let me just say create. I don't have time to be, so it creates everything, and then what happens? All I do is just activate it. Okay? I'm going to use this new cube that I have created as my source. As my target. And I'm going to use this one over here as what? My source. So I can right-click. Let me make this Control-C. I can right-click here and say right-click and say what? Create what? Transformation. And it's going to say, oh, what is your source of data? My source of data is another info cube. So these are the various sources that you can have. Okay? It's another info cube. What is the name? I give it a name, IC1. IC1, has data, doesn't it? I want to push it into IC2. Wherever you have transformation, because it's the exact copy, it automatically did the mapping for me because it can see they look exactly the same. You don't worry about it. Transformation is done. And then you what? Activate. There are times where you have to create cubes from scratch. There are times where, you know, the system allows you to do a lot of fun stuff like this. And now somebody will ask me, hey, can you load data from one source, data source into 2 cubes? Yes, you can do that. You can do that. So now you see I have this and I have that, and look at that. So if I right click here and I say display data flow, let's do upwards and downwards and see what's happening. So data goes here, but then from here it goes here as well. So you see there is a DTP that will be what? Right over here. It has to be a DTP here. Oh, we haven't created it. No, it's not there yet. But I can create this DTP that will allow me to push data from my source cube to my target cube. Very fun stuff, right? So let me right click on this again and say display data flow upwards and downwards. So you see now this is what we created, right? So it's there. So it can just allows it to push it in there. It's very, very easy. Go in there and then just do an execute. Just for the heck of it, just know that you can do that. Okay? And then also just know that you can also you can load data into multiple targets using the same source, data source. So one data source, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 targets. It will work perfectly fine. Okay. So this is IC1. This is IC2. So let's go inside IC2 and check it out. There we go. We've loaded data. Okay. This is the monitor. You can click on the monitor and you can actually get status. This is still running, so you can do refresh. Where is the refresh button? Over here. Anyway, here it's supposed to show green, but it's not showing green for whatever reason it is. So that works perfectly fine, and we have our 7,000 records. Okay. Any questions so far? Oh wow, it's 9 o'clock. So I guess we'll have to close. There is one last thing that I will do. I want to show you on the DTP side, because this is DTP. DTP and info packages are basically the same, and I'm going to be very quick, and so we can go in the next 10 minutes. Okay. I have a quiz for you. It'll be good for you to finish it up before you go, if you have the time. But so very quickly, let's say that this data that I'm loading, I'm going to go ahead and then it's only one record, one request, so I can confidently say delete data because it's only one request. Okay. I'm deleting every data in there. This comes up, you know, just do a continue and then do a refresh here so the data is gone, right? Now I'm going to go into this DTP. You see there are multiple tabs. The first is the extraction tab. This extraction tab here allows you to select whether it's a delta or a full. All right. Whenever you want to make any changes here, switch this over here to change mode. I can decide to do a filter. Filter just says that, hey, yes, there is a lot of data coming in from my source, whether my source is a cube or it's a data source or whatever it is, right? But I can decide to say, hey, I want you to only bring in company code 1111. Okay. I'm not talking about multi-providers today because we are talking about info provider of the type cube. Multi-provider will be another topic. Somebody asked about a multi-provider, but that's not what we're talking about, so I don't want to talk about it at all. Company code 111, I select over here and I put it in. You see the filter counts as a check. Whenever you see a check, it means something has been selected. What do you think is going to happen here when I activate this and I execute? Somebody tell me what's going to happen. Type it in. Tell me what you think. When I load data, what is the result set that you expect? I put a filter company code 1111. So the filter results is only going to be, so the data that is 7005 will be limited to only those ones that have company code 1111. Okay, let's test that theory. Okay, now we can go, this here again allows you to administer data. It's the same as manage. So instead of going back and clicking manage, you can click here. Okay, click, and it brings us here. So you see how many was transferred? Only 1,483 out of the 7,005. And when you go in and you look at it, the only company codes that you're going to see will be the ones that we selected, which is 1111. You will not see anything else other than 1111. Okay? So it's very intuitive and very interesting, to do this. This is very similar to the info package. Okay. Selection here allows you to select from to company code 1111 to something. If you don't want to have everything in a PSA, that is what this is about. You can always do a plus, or we can set this up for this to be available at the data source level. Okay. When you go on the extraction tab, here you already know what this is. It automatically comes up over here. Processing. This here is always grayed out, so you never have to worry about anything here. If I were SAP, I would delete all of this and leave just this, because your info packages will only load to PSA, end of story. All these were options in the older version, which is a 3.1. If I were to show you what the 3.1 system looks like, you will be impressed with what you have now, because it's very easy. Transaction RSA1 old will take you to, it doesn't even, sorry, RSA1 old should take you to an older workbench. Look at that. Look, you have, actually this even looks good. But you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And look at what you have here. Look at what you have here. See how different it looks? And see how many stuff you have over here. So the previous version had all these options with the release 3.5 that allows you to do certain things, but it had limitations. So forget about it. Data targets, you don't really do very much over here. This is a cube. This is where the data is going to. Okay. Your update is full. If your data source is Delta enabled, it means that it's going to be able to allow you to be able to push data and any new records that come in. Right now, our flat file data source is only full. So whenever you load it, it will not only pick up the new records coming in from the flat file, but they will bring everything in there. Okay? And then you have your schedule. Your schedule is where you can click start, and then you're able to manually execute the DTP or schedule the info package. This here is an info package, so you're going to schedule this info package by clicking start. And this is what these options are here for. Okay? So that's all I have for you on DTP info packages and then the data management. as far as today is concerned. I wouldn't want to go any further than this. What I would love to do is give you guys a quiz, but I'm thinking that this quiz, 1 second, I want to enable it for you to be able to take it even outside in a follow-up email or during class sessions. Is fine, okay? Because I don't want you to I don't want you to have to stay here. So there will be a follow-up email that will allow you also to be able to take the test. But I'm going to go ahead and launch the tests right now. Thank you very much for participating today, and I will see you on Saturday. But before you go, I'm launching this, and you should see it. I'm going to unmute you. You should see the the test launch, and if you can get it done very quickly, get it done. I'll get the results, and that will be a done deal. All right. So here we go. The test is launching right now. So let me unmute everybody. You are all unmuted. Recording has stopped.